as a president, but I know you're not going to sell us out, and I know you're going to give us kidnapped Africans a home without going through all the madness. You know what I mean? You're just going to naturalize us so we can come home and build in comfort without going through the madness of corruption there in in Kenya. So I'm looking forward to your successful bid for being the leader of Kenya. If ancestors willing, you would accomplish that task.
Well, thank you very much, comrades, and feel most welcome. So join us today in our conscious study group. As usual, we've been studying the philosophy of ideology by Pan-African philosophy and ideology for decolonizing Africa. And this particular extent, we've been learning about chapter 2. We are reading the chapter 3 now of Conscious in book. And this is also informed, this book is written by Kwame Nkrumah. It's a philosophical book, an ideological book, but it's trying to provide for us what we call a philosophy and ideology for decolonizing Africa. All of us are in the struggle of decolonizing Africa, but there are various concepts that we don't understand that's very important for us to understand. For example, in chapter 1, it's telling us about what do you think the universe is made up of? Because if you don't know what the universe is made up of, it's actually it gives some illusion that the universe is made up of spirits. And that's why most of us are full of prayers every day, fasting, doing what and what, while the white man knows that the universe, the most important thing of the universe is matter and the material conditions. So they come over and take our minerals. So switching that mentality is very important so that we focus more on protection of our welfare and our mineral, rather than just focusing too much of bringing churches, prayers every day and again. So that's what Nkrumah is bringing to us in chapter 1. In chapter 2, is trying to tell us the society. Do you understand our society? Philosophy and society. Do you understand our society? What philosophy should we use to guide our society? How should we conduct our society? How should we take everything about our society? So that's what he introduced to us in chapter 2, and we discussed that extensively. We look at various society, but the key issue that comes out from that chapter 2 is that we as Africans need to have an egalitarian society. A society that embraces our equality as beings and not our differences in terms of either sex or whatever gender. The functional differences we have in a society does not mean that anybody is a lesser being. So the fact that we as a society, some of us are doctors, some of us are engineers, some of us are teachers, some of us are farmers, from an African perspective, we must see each other as equal and treat each other as equal with equal respect, so that we must be able to understand that irrespective of our functional difference, our what we call intrinsic worth is the same. There's no lesser African human being. There's no a more human being in Africa than other. But you realize that in the society today, the philosophy that guides us, you find some people feel that they are more better than others. So you find even the black people still oppressing their fellow black people in African society. And it's because we are taking forward the philosophy of superiority and supremacy and hierarchy, which is an idealist philosophy that says that somebody's up there, somebody's down here. No. We must treat each other and see each other as equal beings, and we must push for what we call an egalitarian society, where everybody is equal. So that is what we are getting clearly in chapter 2, philosophy and society. Which philosophy should guide our society? So that one will get us out from this philosophy we are trying to use today, which makes us feel like because you are a president, now you are more equal than other person. So the rest of the people down here are just lesser beings. You don't care about them. And it also reminds us that we must be actually progressive Pan-Africans rather than being just liberals and conservatives. Because liberalism and conservatism do not help Africa move forward. All this we have been looking at them. So we look at various society, we look at the Greek society, we look at various philosophers, going back from Socrates, going back to Plato, going back to Aristotle, so that we can understand what is the basis of their philosophy in their society. Because each society has its own philosophy. And what philosophy do we need as Africans to build a society of Africans? There's a new society, the renaissance of an Africa, or the Sankofa of Africa we want to see. Then in this chapter 3, we have been looking too much on the now ideology in a society. And today, we'll be looking at the morality and how ideology forms the morals of a society and ethics of a society. So, comrades, feel most welcome to this conversation. It's not just about reading, but it's about learning and emancipating our mind, because they say the mind is the greatest tool that we must emancipate. If we don't emancipate our mind, then we are not going to be free. We are actually free physically. We don't have chains in our hand, but there are a lot of chains in our head and in our mind. We are chained. all over. We are chained every day and again. But we must now and then liberate our mind. And this is a process of relearning what they taught us and learning what is good for us. This is why we have this consciousness study group here with us. So we study this philosophy because Nkrumah took his time to build this philosophy and write this philosophy. As being a leader who tried to practice this philosophy and knew what was needed, that's why we encourage comrades to join us. It's not just a reading, it's a learning process to relearn and unlearn what was not necessary or what is not necessary and learning what is necessary that can help us decolonize Africa. Our key intention is an decolonized Africa. And when you talk about decolonized Africa, is a totally liberated Africa. Africa is not liberated. As we today talk about Africa Liberation Day, some people are trying to convert it to Africa Day and Africa Union Day. It can never be Africa Union Day if we have not been liberated. So we must remember that the liberation of Africa is very fundamental. So a decolonized Africa is a totally liberated Africa. A decolonized Africa is a totally unified Africa into one continental government. Not these segments of small core countries and states, but a totally unified Africa. And a decolonized Africa is an Africa that's totally developed through scientific development. We look at facts, data to develop our people. So as long as we are not developed, as long as some of us are still suffering, we are not decolonized as Africans. So this philosophy provides the tool for us to learn and understand how do we liberate Africa, how do we decolonize Africa, and how do we build Africa. And to liberate Africa, we start by what is the universe made up of? What do you understand the universe is made up of? So that you can liberate your mind from that thinking. So that you can have a right mind that makes you understand what is the universe made up of. Then look at your society, what philosophy and ideology runs your society. Then from there you understand, okay, this is what it's supposed to be. So we are not in competition with the West. We are actually reclaiming who we were. We are doing more of a reformation or revolution to get back to our distracted or destroyed civilization and our mode of operation so that we can know who we are and we can use that tool to bring ourselves forward. So thank you very much, comrades. I know I've spoken much, but I think I wanted to bring this to context to some of us who are joining us for the first time and the essence of why we are having these studies. That is the reason why we are having these studies. So having said that, our chair has joined us, Brother Kwame. Feel most welcome, brother. I know he'll be working on his microphone soon, but let's go straight and start our reading. So who is willing to read for us? Today we are going to read these two paragraphs. As usual, once we are done with the reading the paragraphs, we ask you to share with us your thinking. What do you think? We're interested in your thinking, not even your understanding, because thinking is the highest level of synthesizing knowledge. You read it, you understand it, and then you create a thinking about it. So you share with us what do you think. So comrades, let's see who is ready to read for us this. The two paragraphs that I've highlighted, anybody will be willing to read for us?
Is that Tapua?
Sister Tapua cannot be able to speak today. She has notified that in the chat. She's not maybe in a position to speak currently. Anybody?
Is that Posha?
Who is this man who's given all the sisters' name? Will you read?
I don't mind reading, Sister Ida. I don't mind reading.
Sister
All
Portia,
right.
don't let the men get away with that sort of thing.
Now I have to go to my Sister Ida. She's saying that the men have to read. I have to respect my elders. So men, you have to read.
Oh, Sister Portia, I like that.
Okay, I'll attempt it. Let me attempt it. All right.
Sorry, I've just joined and I'm hearing discussions around whether men are reading or women are reading. Let's remind ourselves that it is our policy that everybody reads.
Exactly, brother.
And we take
Brother
it in
Kwame.
turns. Yeah, that's always been our policy. So it's not about whether men are reading, women are reading. We all take it in turns to read. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. When I say that every society there is at least one ideology, I do not thereby mean that in every society a fully articulate set of statements is to be found. In fact, it is not ideology alone, which can be pervasive and at the same time largely uh, convert. In every society, there's to be found a morality. This is hardly means that there is an implicit set of statements defining the morality. The morality is a network of principles and rules for the guidance and appraisal of conduct. And upon these rules, the principles, we constantly fall back. We constantly fall back. It is it is they which give support to our moral decisions and opinions. Very often we are quite definite about the moral quality of an act. But even when we are so definite, we are not necessarily ready with the reasons for this decision or opinion. It is not to be inferred from any such reticence, I believe, however, that there are no such reasons. We share within the same society a body of moral principles and rules garnered from our own experience and that of our forebears. The principles of directing these experiences give us skill in forming moral opinions without our having to be articulate about the sources of the judgment. Okay, is that it? I just read the
Thank you,
highlights.
brother. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
I try,
You're a bit fast, but it's okay. Thank you for the reading.
yeah, I try to do what I can do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh,
So this is the reading, and I don't know if somebody feels we should read it again, but I think brother has read everything that's in the text, and we should just go ahead and start sharing our thinking. But rather, maybe, if permit me, I'll maybe reread it very slowly as you try now to start processing this, because I did share the text, but I shared it a bit late, so maybe you have not interacted the text. So please take your time to interact with the text as we do this. Sister Marlin, I see your hand is up.
Hello.
Hello, Sister Marlin.
Yeah. I was just looking at like the first paragraph, and I was just picking up that it says every society have its own ideology. But the sad thing about that, other society wants to change others and let other people have to have their ideology. And this is where we're now having a lot of problems in our society, because whoever think that they're in charge think that you've got to follow their ideology. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. At least you started us off, so that means I'll not read it again. So thank you for sharing your thinking with us on that text that you have identified. Sawindok, do you have something to say? Do you want to share your thinking with us, Sawindok? Sawindok?
Yes. Just maybe just some explanation of some terms. Pervasive, covert, and reticence.
Brother Kwame, can you help with those words? So the first word you want an explanation on is?
Sorry, which was the first one?
Pervasive,
Pervasive means everywhere. It's everywhere. Next one.
covert,
Overt is visible. You can see it. The opposite is covert, where it's hidden, where you can't see. So overt, outside, you can see from outside, yes. Reticence is inability to explain. You can't explain something. For those of you who are familiar, at least those of us in the Western world, if there's such a thing as a Western world, but those of us living amongst Caucasians, you would have heard of something called implicit racism, where people are are racist in terms of their behavior, but they're unable to explain. And then when you tell them, their immediate response is, I am not a racist, even though they have just displayed a racist behavior. Because you don't look like them, they act in a certain way to make you feel uncomfortable. My father said when he first came to this country, I live in England at the moment, that when they came after my father and others, the Windrush generation came to this country after the Second World War, mostly invited by the British to come and help rebuild, in brackets, the mother country. And my father said, but my father came to study, as did I and a lot of people like myself. We just came to study so we can go back. And we never went back. Some of us went and came back because of imperialism. My father said when he sat in a bus, no one sat next to him. This is the experience of our parents. Yeah, so that's one experience. So when I naively came to this country, I knew I was a black man, but I never knew I was a black man. In fact, I didn't know I was a black man until I came to England. We are amiable. I think we've looked at this term before. Brother Pigeon shared the Luo word for Africans, which is similar to ours. Sister Tapua shared with us, which is man. Is it Ubuntu or something like that? So I wanted to apply for a job, and I was told not by Caucasians but by my African brothers and sisters that don't bother. I said, why? They said, because they wouldn't give it to you. I said, why? They said, because you're black. And I was very surprised. It was the first time I came face to face with racism in England, that I will not be given a job because of the color of my skin. I mean, that was unheard of. It was philosophical nonsense. It was practical nonsense. That's how I thought about it at times. Very sorry. I still don't think it makes sense. And so for those of us who were born in Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana, I was one of those. So we were born in an environment where Nkrumah and Nkrumahism was in the air, as it were. So we did not imbibe all this inferiority nonsense. So we grew up very confident. We grew up knowing who we thought we were, and we're Africans, the African personality, and so on and so forth. So, so I was mentioning something called implicit racism, where people are racist towards you in terms of their behavior, but deny they are racist, and they're unable to explain. And that is part of reticence. They're unable to explain. In fact, they are not even consciously aware that they are expressing that kind of behavior. And that's because it is inbuilt, it is within, it is picked up, it is covert, it is picked up within the cultural background. And the paragraph that Brother Maxon read for us is thank you. I hope I have explained the three words. Yeah, pervasive, overt, and reticence. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. So as usual, we will be going around actually to call each person to share their thinking. So I'll be taking this first round to be concentrating on the first paragraph. And the first paragraph says that, I repeat what the first paragraph says, and I'll go around, each person probably prepare to share your thinking with us. If you are not ready, you just let me know so that I will pass. So it says that, and this is Nkrumah saying this, when I say that in every society there's at least one ideology, I do not thereby mean that in every society a full articulated set of statement is to be found. In fact, it is not ideology alone which can be pervasive and at the same time largely covert. So let's go around and welcome to those who have joined us. Feel most welcome. So Sister Marin has shared thinking with us. Let's get to Sister Chisomo. Share with us what do you think about that paragraph alone. Sister
I
Chisomo.
was I was still thinking, but anyway, based on what Sister Marlene and Brother Kwame has said, yeah, my experience was the same when I first came here. So as Sister Marlene said, different people, different ideologies, different groups of people, different ideologies or cultures, or so we may all look African, but we're still different. We all live in the UK, but with different ideologies and different beliefs and whatever. So then I too found out that about this word black, whereas in where I come from, there's a clear distinction between a black person, a colored person, and a white person. And maybe the yellow race, what we call the yellow race, the Chinese and all these other people. So I was working for Citizens Advice Bureau. So we're having training about these identities. So that's when I learned that you can't just assume just by looking at a person and call them what you think they are, because they might not or they may not identify as such. And at that point, I did realize that some people call themselves Black, some people call themselves African, and so forth and so on. And then the administrative way of identifying people was also different. There was this thing about Black and ethnic minorities, which was also very, very confusing. And then I came to Scotland. Then the argument about Black and African started again at a different level and a different angle altogether. But because I knew about Blackness in London, so in Scotland, I'm trying to explain the way I understood it and the way we used it in London, only to find in Scotland, Africans do not accept the word black. And if you say black, they really get very angry with you, to the extent that they convinced the Scottish government that we're not black people, we're Africans. So their records will say African, but the Caribbean community will say black. So they do include Black and African so that the rest of us can call ourselves whatever we want to call ourselves. And also the other thing I found out was Indians, Asians call themselves Black. So when we're doing Black history, they actually take the lead because they consider themselves as Black, and the Scottish government also know them as Black. So it's all those different confusing systems and whatnot. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Chisomo. Sister Ida, I hope you want to share your thinking on this, the text as well. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to make a comment of continue with what Sister Chisoma was saying, because once upon a time, Black included even the Irish. Anybody who was oppressed came under the Black label for trying to change things. So it wasn't just Black and Indians, it was also the Irish, because they were also being oppressed. That maybe is a long time ago, but that was the case. I'll come back on my thinking, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brother, let me build on what Sister has just said. For those of you who know, I am a member of the National Education Union, which is the biggest teachers union in the UK, in England. Now, the definition of Black is, as Sister Ida has just said, it is not based on skin color. It's based on your identity, how you identify yourself. And as Sister Ida has said, it goes back to the struggle for respect, for liberation, for the emancipation, and so on and so forth. So when our parents came to this country, the white trade unions did not accept them, even though they were also workers. The white trade unions discriminated against Black workers. So here, The black, as Sister Ida has said, referred to all oppressed people, if you like. So we were all black. In other words, in short, to summarize, black is a political term. It is not a skin color term. So
I've
this
never
is
heard that in my life. I'm sorry to say.
interesting.
It's
You
true
haven't.
though, Sister Marlene.
Really, I've
I am.
never heard. I
Well,
remember as a child, I came here at 7, and now I would call myself an old woman. And when I came here, when they were nice to you, they called you colored. When they had something against you or they wanted to be derogatory towards you, they would call you black. And they did the same in America. And then the Black Americans eventually, instead of using it as negative, they turned it into positive, and we, as Black Americans and Caribbeans, they somehow use the word black to identify us as a race, because a lot of us didn't relate ourselves to Africa because we knew nothing of Africa. And when we eventually, I remember knowing I had any African connection when I was like a teenager, because I was never told anything about being from Africa. I always thought I was from the Caribbean, and still you cannot convince a lot of Caribbean that they're originated from African or they've got any affinity to African. So they've caused a lot of confusion, just like with the land now. They gave land to whoever they wanted to, and now people are coming back, claiming land, and it's costing a lot of chaos. And this black thing was another thing, because I remember when people started embracing being called black, someone came up to me and said, I don't want to be called black, it's negative, it's always connected to something bad. And I say, well, the continent we came from, the people are quite dark, and we're accepting that we are now black. And that's what I've always connected it to.
Yeah.
And it derived from all of what I'm saying as well.
Yeah. No, Sister Marlene, it's interesting. Just 2 points. I'm not surprised you didn't come across it in the sense in which I'm explaining it, because the sense in which I'm explaining it, building on what Sister Ida said, was that it was in the political realm that it was used. So then, after the black workers started fighting because the white workers would not support them, then after some evolution, the white workers then realized that, well, these are black workers are also workers. So anyway, to cut a long story short, as I'm speaking to you now, the word black is used. In fact, I am attending a conference this weekend as an NEU member of a planning committee for black educators. And with those who will be there will not just be people with black skin. As it started, there will be Asians, there will be all kinds of people. In fact, last year we did have the Chinese attend who identify as black. So it's very interesting. Thank you.
And confusing, because a lot of people only identify people from the African continent as black. So now this is being talked about, all these things create confusion.
Not really. I mean, I am clear.
Well, I've never heard of it before. I've always thought of anyone, they always say black and Asian. That's what I've always heard them say.
Yeah, that's BAME. Yes, that's BAME. That has been widely now rejected. But anyway, let's continue the conversation. I just wanted to comment on what Sister Ida said, and to say that it is still the case. And then also remember that, Mr. Mani, remember that in Africa today, we say we are black people. That is how we describe ourselves.
Yeah,
So
and that's
people.
what I know that Caribbean and African American eventually started calling ourselves black, because at one time, if somebody called you black, it was the biggest insult and it could create a fight. Now it's accepted, we're black. And people, if someone call you black, you take no notice of it. Where before, there would be the biggest fight because it was such an insult. It was like calling someone a nigger. That's how bad it was at one point. And the Black Americans somehow managed to change it that we accept being called black. And now the negativity, people turn it into positivity. So, as I said, a lot of confusion has been created by ideology, what we're talking about. So we can leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Who is this?
Chisomo, can I ask a question?
Okay, Sister Chisomo, before you come in, I see also Ambassador Sand is up. I just want us not to lose. I don't want us to lose track of the conversation, but basically I think whatever you've been discussing is the second part of this statement that says that, what Nkrumah said, that I do not thereby mean that in every society a fully articulated set of statements is to be found. So you see, in fact, it's not ideology alone. So they have their pervasive and sometimes they're largely covert. So whatever you're saying about even the racism or the color thing or what they talk about, some of them might not be fundamentally found anyway, but it's what is their unwritten ideology for their society. But yes, I'll take some few reaction to this first paragraph before we go to the second paragraph. So, Sister Chisomo, just put forth your question, but I'll go to Sister Ambassador after you. Ambassador Jasmine.
My question was to Brother Kwame.
Okay,
since he said it's the union and education. Hello?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah, my question is to Brother Kwame, based on the position he's explained himself. So at what point did the word colored become offensive?
Okay.
The word colored.
Yes.
Did you say the word colored?
The word colored, because eventually I was told at work, you can't use that word, it's very offensive. It's not allowed.
Oh, okay. So the word colored was not used in the political circles that I am referring to. I hope that answers the question.
Okay.
Sorry, what did you say?
Brother Kwame.
Yeah, I was saying that the history that I was referring to, the word colored was not the big deal there. Yeah, thank you.
But do you know when did it become offensive, as what Sister Chisomo is asking?
Let me come back to you on that, Sister Chisomo. Thank you.
Thank you. Ambassador Jasmine. Feel most welcome, Ambassador Jasmine. Welcome. Please go ahead.
Greetings, everyone. I've been missing in action for quite a while. Got a little bit of time here. I would like to say, I arrived in England in 1968, and I was 10 years old. So I went a little time in primary school. And what I found that in my primary school, all the African descent, mixed race, everyone was called into the hall at a certain time. Those who remember those days, it was assembly. And all the African descent, so the mixed race and the blacks, were called into the hall and were counted, physically counted. It happened also in my first year in secondary school. And there was no monitoring when we went to school at that time. That's how they defined who we were, how many of African descent was in the school. And after a few years in secondary school, they were calling us coloreds at the time. They're calling us coloreds. The word black was not politically correct at the time, so they called us coloreds. We did get called nignog and gollywogs and those things as well, which was the derogatory side of things. And then in my second year in secondary school, bear in mind that I went into England January 1968. So this is now January 1970. This is now 1970. And what they started to do was monitor and count. But in the counting now, it was, do you recognize who you are? So the colonials were always observing whether we knew who we were. So the question was, do you see yourself as Black, white, Asian, or other? That's how it started in 1970. Black, white, Asian, or other. But as the multitude grow, they started to have Black Caribbean, Black African, and so on, in order that we could see, they would see how many of us knew that we were African, because African by around 1974 came onto that list as well. So you had Black British, Black African, Asian, and European, and so on. So they really was checking whether we knew who we were. And this was a passed on from the colonials. When slavery was abolished and we carried on in the island, they already planned that they were going to move us into the Americas through jobs. Uncle Sam is calling you. And they observed all the way whether we recognize who we were, because we've had a brainwashing education within the Caribbean. We didn't notice who we were in the Caribbean because we were a nation of people of African descent, or Jamaicans, Barbadian, Trinidadian. We didn't even use color. Once we left from the islands and went into the Americas, the Canadas, the Britain, is when they started to assess whether we know who we were. So the question was always, within school, going to school, the monitoring form, going into jobs, the monitoring form, whether we knew who we were. And the question is, what do you see yourself as? Not who are you? What do you see yourself as? So that monitoring system went on throughout school, college, universities, and through the work in employment. Now you needed to say who you were. And like a brother had said earlier, when I left school and started to look for a job, and I would see the job, I would get the interview, I would arrive, and they would say the job is gone. But my older sister taught me, when you call them for the job, tell them that you're Black. Simple as that. And incidentally, I came up with, from about 15 years old, I was part of the Black Power movement, Angela Davis, Steve Biko, and those areas was where I was, until after the Panthers, the Black Panthers in America was infiltrated, then up popped Rastafari. So from 17 years old, I have been in that Rastafari movement, the Back to Africa movement, which, as many as you know, within the Caribbean, many, many, many Rastafarians was murdered because they had Africa on their mind. They saw themselves as Africans, and they were going back to Africa. 1959, 1963. In 1963, when Jamaica got independence, it was then that the then Syrians who came in, Siaga, Bustamante, and Manley, who were all relatives, they were descendants of the slave masters. And the word from Bustamante was, those Lux people are still talking about Africa. Get rid of them. So they killed a lot. They murdered a lot. That's called the Carroll Gardens affair. And who could not fit in the prisons, they were to put in the cemetery. And that was this 1963. In 1959, I was born 1958 in Jamaica. And I do know about the 59. In 1959, when the Queen of England had sent now ships to return these Rastafarians back to Africa, it was supposed to be free, but everybody paid a shilling. Once the Rasses reached at Tivoli Gardens, which was the way to the docks where the ships were parked, again they were attacked, murdered, glass bottles, machetes to cut their locks. And then the people was told, if you want to go to Africa, you need to join the church. And as you know, the church was the decolonization kind of thing, the colonize, the brainwashing system. They were to either join the church, and many went back into the hills and lived in the hills for many years. Those that joined the church never grew their locks again. And to this day, as many of those from the Caribbean know, that by the time it came into the 70s and 80s, our parents did not want us to grow locks. Anyone that had locks, the parents would say, either cut off the locks or leave the house. It was not because that they did not want us to have the locks, but the locks brought a danger on the family because the colonials were going around to house by house, and any Rasses with locks, they would kill them, cut their locks, or throw them in jail, or kill them.
Thank you.
So the bottom line is they have been monitoring how we see ourselves. Now today we can highly say we are Africans, or our skin color is Ethiopian. We can freely talk of who we are because our education has put us into that situation. We all went into England at different times, America at different times. We came from the continent, we came from the islands, but they've been monitoring us, and they are still monitoring our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. That was a very great educative history and part of it on how they have their silent ways of trying to pass their ideologies and try to monitor their ideologies, even though it's not found anywhere in records. But they have it, they've trained themselves, they've mastered it. They know what they want and how they do it. What is our ideology as Africans? How do you monitor it? How do you pass it out? And how do you ensure we actually keep it? So that's what I'm getting from here. But yes, we have so many people with us, so we will be going very fast a bit. But Brother Kwame?
Yes, I wanted to clarify something. So Brother Wayne, welcome, asked the meaning of reticence, and I used implicit racism to explain. I didn't mean that our conversation should go down that route. So, because I've noticed I may have unintentionally set the tone.
Yes.
For the discussion, which was not my intention. But what we have heard from Sister Ambassador is very eye-opening. And I think we'll come to it again later when we read or respond to other parts of the text, because what our sister has shared is where it's moved from implicit to explicit, where they are now killing you. And as we look around, the same things happening in Palestine, where they are openly killing people because of their ethnicity. So I just want to say that it wasn't my intention to take the discussion in that direction. So we are all free to step back to the passage, as Brother Pigeon is asking us to share our thoughts. And then, of course, we can use that as examples. Brother Pigeon, I thought I should say that.
Yeah, it was very hard for me to control that conversation because most of us in the continent, whatever you are sharing is very new to some of us.
Precisely. So, I know you guys in the continent have no clue what we are talking about.
Yeah, but I'll beseech us that I read the second paragraph which was read, and I'll permit each member at least 2 to 3 minutes so that at least most of us here be able to share their thinking before we go to general conversation, at least so that I can run through the list and have some members also sharing their thinking. That's what I'm proposing.
Yeah, so yeah, that's fine. So what you need to do now, take the conversation back to the text.
Thank you. So,
I'm happy to do that.
thank you.
I'm next.
Thank you, comrades. So, what is here is that the first paragraph, as I've read, is very clear that in every society there is at least one ideology. It do not thereby mean that in every society a fully articulated set of statements is to be found. In fact, it is not ideology alone which can be pervasive and at the same time largely covert. But let's share and tie the second paragraph in as you will be coming in to share your thinking as well. It says that in every society there is to be found a morality. Morality comes in here. This hardly means that there is an explicit set of statements defining the morality. A morality is a network of principles and rules for the guidance and appraisal of conduct. And upon these rules and principles, we constantly fall back. It is they which give support to our moral decisions and opinion. So very often, we are quite definitive about the moral quality of an act. But even when we are so definitive or definite, we are not necessarily ready with the reasons for these decisions and opinion. Therefore, it is not to be inferred from any such reticence, however, that there are no such reasons. We share within the same society a body of moral principles and rules garnered for our own experience and that of our forebears. The principles directing this experience give us skill in forming moral opinion without our having to be articulate about the sources of the judgments. So, comrades, please, when you come in, feel free to share your thinking in this text. So, let me start with Sister Ida. Your 2 minutes, please, or 3, so that you can go around.
I wanted to say that I thought that Ambassador Jasmine's comments actually got to the heart of what the first paragraph was saying, in that I do not thereby mean that something, sorry, in every society, a full attachment, articulated set of statements is to be found. And in fact, it's not ideology alone, which can be so persuasive at the time, largely covert, because I think what she explained to us was something that we maybe didn't realize was going on, but it was going on. And even Sister Marlene saying to us that she didn't know about the fact that Black was a political term. Well, I only knew about it because it was something that I covered in one of the classes I was on. And therefore, I heard about the politics of Black and it including everybody. That's how I knew. I also remember that at the time, they were actually having people being interviewed on telly as to why do they suddenly want to call people Black, this and that, people having to explain the politics behind it and why this Black person felt he was a Black person, not just because of politics, but because it was something that he felt was inclusive to him and personal to him, as much as to say other people who embraced it politically. But I have to tell you that my neighbor next door still refuses the word Black. She still refuses to be called Black. She still loves the word colored. And to her, we should be describing things and people as colored rather than Black. And it's a generational thing, because she's probably in her 80s, but as soon as she hears that word, it triggers her. And what else had I wanted to talk about?
Do you have something to share about the morality that's being covered in this text, second paragraph?
Well, that's what I was trying to say, that, you know, I think that it is that what Sister Jasmine had said is all about morality and how it has affected Black people. But it's not everybody who recognizes it, that it's covert to some, because they don't want to engage in anything that might either get them in trouble or might upset the people they know. So I do think that all we have said today has
Okay.
Includes what we're reading.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sister Tapua, your 2 or 3 minutes, sister.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm going to start with the first paragraph because I think it is made me think or question certain things, because it says, when I saw that in every society there's at least one ideology, I then kind of questioned myself that, oh, we've got a few ideologies in any one society. And what are they? So what we have here is a situation where you have one ideology maybe dominating over other ideologies. And there's that possibility of what we're talking about now, where there's a turn in tables, when from Black being negative to Black being assertive and a statement of acceptance of who we are. But I also wanted to point out the fact that when we're discussing color, that racism is a social construct which was brought about because of the need to discriminate and take things from people and subjugate. And we also need to remember the American one-drop rule, where white was pure and perfect, and the moment you had Black blood in you, you then colored it. So that became colored. But just like we talk of colored being Black and white, people who hang on to the idea that they're colored, particularly in the African context, where coloreds were given a privileged position because they joined the administrators and because they became kin and kith of the colonizers, it was better for them to be colored than to be Black. And in my culture, we talk of Black as being bad, not from the colonial sense, but that something is dark and sinister. But as a people, we never identified ourselves as Black because there was no other white to compare. Therefore, I remember in literature, I'm an English teacher anyway. When you're talking about color and you're talking about the literary implications of color, you'd see kids freezing because they didn't quite know whether to use the word Black. And they're looking at someone whom they're not supposed to call Black because this was Scotland, you're African. And it just kind of gave them a confusion. I say to them, forget about racism. When something gets bad, it gets dark. It starts to decay, but it has nothing to do with Black. I remember covering a school when I was doing supply teaching and in a primary school, and a group of kids came to me and they said, are you so-and-so's mother? Because this young girl was just the only one in the school who was Black. And I said, no, I'm not. But the young girl came to me when I was covering her class and she said, they call me Black. I don't think I'm Black. And I discussed with her, I said, what do you think you are? So we took out a Black card, put it on her skin, and I said, what do you, because I'm more brown than Black. I said, okay. I said, what do you want to be called? She says, yeah, but then the white boy who kept calling this young kid, this is about 7, 8 year olds, his implication of calling her Black was racist. I then had to call the child and say to her, colors. Let's talk colors. Black, white, pink, yellow. And I said, I took a card, white card, and said, what color do you think you are? Are you white? We put it on him. He says, no, let's match it. Oh, I'm more pink than white. And I said, do you want to be called? And it actually dawned on the child that calling someone else, so we called the black child, put a black card on the black child, and the black child said, I'm not black. I don't want to be called black. And it kind of resolved the problem. But here we are. It's politics. It's people trying to take over. And then it's the second paragraph for me deals with the morality, where once people in a society view it as acceptable to deny one group over another, whether it be male or female, or old or young, or African or Indian or Asian, whatever you want to call it, they revert back to the morality that is acceptable within that society, and it justifies. They don't even think whether it's right or wrong. It's when they're confronted as an individual and they're asked about what they're doing, then there's a statement that I always heard in class, everybody is doing it, miss. Everyone, and the fact that everybody is doing it does not justify that it should be done. Let's think. So I think this is where we're at. I think I'll stop here for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Tapo, for that. Africa Unity Empowerment, your 2 minutes, please.
Brother Pigeon, my hand is also up next.
I haven't seen your hand up, but I'll call you now because I'm seeing one hand up called Africa Unity Empowerment. But I'll come back to you, Brother Windhoek. I'll ensure that everybody at least have a space. That's why I'm trying to limit the timing as well. So please, Africa Unity Empowerment, have your 2 minutes, please, so that we can go to the next person.
All right. Good evening to everyone, kings and queens.
Good evening.
I think this is my first. Yeah, this is my first time of joining you here. I have some questions, number of questions to ask so far as this black things is concerned. My name is Salam. I'm a journalist based in Accra, Ghana. First of all, I want to ask: is there any platform that maybe WhatsApp I can be added for us to take it from there?
Yeah, that's available. You will get in touch, or where you got the invite here, just follow that number or get in touch with me directly via the text. I'll share with you the link. Or anybody of us, either Sister Myra, Brother Kwame, Sister Ida, anybody of you can share the link to our WhatsApp group. But you only share the link with one condition, that you only exist in that WhatsApp group as long as you become a member to this virtual class. Anytime you leave this virtual class, we don't consider you to still be an active member to our WhatsApp policy group. That's our policy. So, but I will share the link with you. Go ahead. The next question.
He's actually put his number in the chat. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I will. My next question is: who brought this name black whites? Because we normally used. Who brought these differences?
Yeah, very
the black and white. Africa is black, Asian is white, a black Africa, black magic, and one. The disgusting thing is that they normally differ black things to evil, devil, black, Satan is black, God is white. Because of that, those people claim they are white, we are black. Who brought this kind of differences? That's my question I've been asking since day one of my life. Thank you.
Right. You've come to the right. Brother Pidgey, let me answer that. Brother, you said you're a journalist in Accra. Yeah? Africa Unity.
Yes, sir.
You are a journalist in Accra. Is that correct?
Yes, please. Accra, yeah, please.
Yeah. You've asked a very important question. And as I said earlier,
come again.
I'm saying you've asked a very important question.
All right, thank you.
And you've also come to the right space, philosophical and ideological space, where we take on the big issues, the big ideas. So welcome. Now, I wanted to say something, but your question has actually then made it clear to me that I must explain this.
Okay.
Are we all familiar with the invention of the white race? Because what the brother is asking goes to the heart of the invention of the white race. You are familiar with that. If you are not, there is research on that. But very briefly, in 1676, there was a rebellion in the British colony of Virginia. Okay. And before that revolt or rebellion, there was no such thing as a white race. It did not exist. Okay.
Network.
That terminology that you are black, I'm white, it didn't. Everyone was, apart from the ruling class, all servants were indentured servants, right? And all of them lived and worked together. There was no racial separation between what you might call enslaved Africans and European indentured laborers. They all lived together, they worked together. And so when they were not happy with the status quo at the time, they all rebelled, right? So when they rebelled, you had the situation where Africans and indentured Europeans laborers were all rebelling against the white, today we call white, but then at the time it was the European ruling class. So what they did was to invent what is called the white race. Those of you interested in this research, there's a researcher called Jacqueline Batalora. She's done some work on this. There are others who have done work on it. If you are interested, please get in touch. We will share this with you. Now, we had a brother called Bra Dakojo, who was one of the first CSG members when we met face to face in those days. This is years ago. Brother Glenroy also used to come with us in those days, and it was this brother who first drew my attention to what is called the Baker's Rebellion. So, the question you asked, brother, where it came from, that is where it came from. So the notion of the white race was invented, and then they passed laws that formalized racial divisions. So in short, that is where it came from. But as someone from Ghana, you will know that the Akan say yeah before, and then they ever say and the Gan say mediji. We all to say that we have black people. So, but that notion of us as black people, which remember Herodotus talked about, so the word Ethiopia itself, you remember, comes from the Greek word meaning that your skin is dark because of the sun. Yeah, that's where it comes from. So the notion of us calling ourselves people has nothing to do with the Bacon Rebellion and the formalization of racial segregation. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kwame.
Interesting. So Chief, can we wipe this thing out? Is there any way we can wipe it out
we are
from
black people.
the
How
next
do we
generation?
wipe it out? Brother, we are black people.
Okay, comrades.
We are black people, so we can't wipe out. You see what Sister Marlin and Sister Marlin mentioned, which Ambassador also mentioned. I don't know whether you were here at the time. And was that although the term black was used negatively, remember that the word black in Latin is niga, yeah, for male, a term. Then there's nigra, which is the female, and then the neutral is nigrum, Nigrum. So the word nigger itself was just the Latin version of black. The problem was that it was turned into a derogative and an insulting and a disrespectful term, which is why we reject we reject it. So we are black people, but that has nothing to do with the way that white supremacy sees it. And as I said, and Sister Ambassador has said the same thing, Sister Chizoma said the same thing. Our experience, because we came to this country when we were older. I came when I had done my A levels. And Sister Chizoma also probably be the same. But Ambassador came when she was tiny. So you see, we have different experiences. And as I said, I did not know I was a black man. I knew I was a black man, don't get me wrong, but not in racist terms that I was inferior. And so I never, or we, our generation, never internalized this inferiority nonsense. We have never seen ourselves as inferior because of our skin color. But as Sister Tapua has explained, in other parts of Africa, Africans were inferiorized based on their skin color. So there were Africans who actually felt inferior because the system made them feel that way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm afraid we might not run away from this conversation because it's coming up. Probably I might feel that we have held a Saturday session on a Thursday. But, but there is no problem, Congress. I will request that we actually try also to give some credit to the text. I know this, we are going to the practical application of the contemporary text in regards to this, but we always also request that you share with us your thinking directly to the text, and then you can have the contemporary aspect of it. But I also find it very informative and very educative. So it's much very educative to some of us who are here. But please, let's be to this text. I know we may end up moving away, but let's just do our best.
Yeah, you see, Brother Pigeon, the question that our brother from Accra is asking, he's asking how can we stamp it out? Now, the passage we are reading is in a way addressing that. Because if it is pervasive and it is covert, how do you root it out? So I think the question the brother is asking goes to the heart of how we respond to the passage we are reading. And perhaps we can say to the brother that the way we root it out is by dethroning imperialism and white supremacy, because that is where the problem is. If we can dethrone, as Traore has started uprooting France out of Burkina Faso, if we can uproot England and uproot Portugal, uproot all these, if we uproot their structures, then brother, we are addressing the point you are asking. How can we get rid of it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sawindok, go ahead, and then Sister Portia. And then after Sawindok, Sister Portia. Then I see minions up. Brother Elder Glenn hasn't spoken. So start with Sawindok, Sister Portia, Elder Glenn, in that order, please.
Thank you. My first comment was that one of the brother from African Unity and Brother Kwame. I wanted to suggest that after every paragraph, after we finish discussing it, we should have a take-home summary that will clearly indicate what is expected of us, what do we need to do. So thank you for the two brothers. They have read my mind. What I wanted to comment on the first paragraph is, in fact, it is not only ideology alone. Sister Tapua almost came there, but she fell a little bit short, which can be so pervasive and at the same time largely covert. Which are the other 1 or 2 or 5 things apart from ideology that can be so pervasive and largely
Are you
covert?
asking a question?
Thank you.
Are you asking us?
Yes, please. Yes,
brother,
please.
The
If
answer,
somebody can help me
but
with.
you know the answer. Brother, every instrument of ideology fits into that. And all the instruments of ideology, all of them, education, the military, housing, roads, communication, I may name them. All of them are instruments of ideology, and they can fit into that very easily. Thank you.
Thank you. Sister Pasha, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So the first paragraph in the first sentence, even what I'm thinking, it says, not my opinions, even though there is at least one ideology per society, that doesn't imply that that society has set guidelines. So that's the first sentence. The second sentence, pardon me, is that ideology, no one book, there's basically that second sentence is saying there's no one book a people can go to and it says this is exactly how a society is working, be it via at least one ideology or a set of statements that may or may not be there. Then the second paragraph is that morality is in each society. Still, that doesn't imply that each society has those set guidelines as mentioned in the first sentence of the first paragraph around morality. So then the second sentence is saying, I think the second sentence is saying is that morality is defined as having connected principles and rules for instructions and manners. What you were talking about last night, King Bertha, in the Kiswahili language. You just don't start off asking the question. There's a saying you say in Kiswahili before you ask the question. The third, that could be manners. The third sentence in the second paragraph, to know how to be moral, one refers back to those connected principles and rules for instructions and manners. And then in the fourth sentence, the rules and principles link to a people in a society and to those people's decisions and opinion. Those decisions are founded upon morality, which is founded upon at least one ideology in a society. In the fifth sentence, this one's a bit complicated, pardon me. It's saying a people in a society, they can be certain about, for example, a serial killer killing people is wrong, yet a soldier having killed people is self-defense. They can be certain of between those two what is morality or what is moral, correct or incorrect. But even if they're that certain, they can't be definite about why that is and is not why it is or is not different. And then the seventh sentence, almost wrapping up, the seventh sentence says that morals and principles are based upon people's experiences and their ancestors' experiences. So then the eighth sentence says, basically, and this I believe is the last sentence, principles connect to experiences, to opinions. And then that, even if the people don't comprehend, if a people don't comprehend why that is so. I yield.
Oh, thank you, sister, for taking the best of your time to
sorry, can I come in?
Yes, brother.
Sister Portia, don't feel rushed when you are sharing your thinking. It's you don't have to feel that you should hurry or that you should apologize that you are coming to an end of your present. Please, it's a safe space. It's a space for us, and just relax and share what you are thinking. Don't worry about apologizing or anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Elder. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sister Portia, once again for at least doing your best to share your thinking in the all text, probably in these two paragraphs. Thank you very much. Elder Glenn, welcome, Elder, and feel most
Yes,
welcome. Go ahead, Elder.
yes, greetings, greetings.
Yeah, greetings, Elder. We can hear you. Please go ahead. Elder Glenn? Okay. Elder, I think you're having some, or is there anybody who can hear Elder Glenn?
Can, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you, Elder. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I said I have a problem with the paragraph that says, or the sentence that says that every society has a morality. Um, I think the definition of trying to say there are rules and so on, the guide is not the same thing, or I don't see it as the same thing as morality. So I have a problem with that. I don't want to pursue that too much. But if we think of uh, Nazi Germany and the society that existed in, and indeed the current situation in the US, would we give that code of morality or endorsement of morality? We would question that. But I really put my hand up to give a couple of intervention. First of all, I think the Latin is is Negro, and people have bastardized it and call people niggers. So I think the Latin is Negro. The other thing is that I think people should understand that certainly the denigration or attempt to divide African people is a crossover between enslavement and colonization. Because, for example, the San people of Namibia were never called colored, even though they're virtually the same complexion as the so-called coloreds in South Africa. Obviously, white interference or white exploitation of women and indeed men, because some women, white women, did produce children of mixed ethnicity. So the enslavers and colonizers wanted to create that definition. Some people refer it to as the Willie Lynch letter, something that I've never particularly believed it existed. And I think people have tried to make something of that. I don't know if people have not heard about the Willie Lynch letter. It's supposed to have been that somebody claimed they came up with a set of procedures to keep Africans enslaved by creating divisions about people of different complexion and people of different age and people of different height, etc., men and women, youth, and so on, to create a separation. But colorism is a very fundamental part of that separation. And if people know the history of Haiti, for instance, the division of people of various shades of color clearly played a part there. But I think, the only way to capture this, and not everybody will come along, is the simple fact that we are Africans. And the so-called one drop method, we turn that around and we use that to say, if you have one drop of African blood, then you're an African. Now, again, we say these things without trying to say, sorry, that everybody would embrace that, As far as the black terminology is concerned,
I don't feel that's me, and that's not a position for African people. Black is the terminology that we use in the 70s and 80s in Europe, mostly in the UK, predominantly in the UK, to build an alliance between Africans and Asian and other ethnic groups. So I think these things need to be properly documented, even where it's not necessarily a shared point of view. But the question of when did being colored became, I don't think this was said, but let's say became a dirty word, is simply the position that so-called colored people have occupied within the struggle, because many people see them as them seeing themselves as being closer to the enslaver than the enslaved, more closer to the house enslaved than those in the field. So they were not considered trustworthy or people who would not betray African people. And again, back to the Haiti experience, you will find that structures or stratospheres were structured within the Haiti system when they were being forced to pay back money that France had stolen. And the mulatto, as they were called, were the ones who were in charge of uh, managing the repayment. In other words, they become the accountants or what have you on behalf of the enslavers in France. So I hope that little contribution to what I've heard since joining. Apologies for not being here at the start. Thank you. I'll leave it there.
Mm. Yeah, but Brother Glenroy, your use of the term morality implies you are saying that to be moral is to be good. Am I right to think that? Because that's the way you came across. That you're
No,
implying that.
I'm not. I can't. No, no. Well, okay. Apologies. I'm not here to say what is good or what's bad. But there is when you use the phrase morality, there is an accepted level of behavior. Whether you call it good or bad, people tend to want to describe progressive behavior or helpful behavior or society helping itself and helping each other as good or bad. But I think there's a responsibility that society has, be it morally guided or simply common decency. But what I'm saying is there are some society that you wouldn't give credit of morality to. Yeah. If you want to get biblical, was what the devil was it? Sodom and Gomorrah was that moral?
Yeah, but Brother Glenroy, you are making what I'm saying. The way you are using the word morality is implying that it's only moral if it is considered good, for example, by yourself. If you think the society's moral rules are good, in your opinion, then it is moral. I'm saying that is how what you're saying is coming across. Am I right in thinking that is what you are saying? Okay, Brother Gloria may have fallen out.
Okay, Brother Kome, do you still want to pursue that?
Yeah, Brother Gloria it seems he's dropped out because of the internet. But I wanted to raise the issue that when you're looking at morality from a philosophical point of view, the society will have rules, moral rules, and those moral rules are rules for conduct. It doesn't mean that those rules of conduct are good in the eyes of another society that has different set of rules. So whether the rules are evaluated as good or bad is not the sense in which we are using it in this paragraph. This paragraph is only making the scientific position that every society has a morality. Now, you may say that the morality of a Jewish state is that it is apartheid because it discriminates on the basis of this or that. But then those who practice that morality, if you take the Jewish state of Israel today, do not see it as that. So although we accept that one set of morality can make a judgment on another set of morality, let's remember that when you are making a judgment on another set of of another society's morality, you are looking at it from the position of your own morality. So this leads to relativism, if we recall, we came across this earlier on. Now, then the question is, are moral rules relative? Is it the case that we all can't arrive at a common set of rules as humanity that tells us that if you behave in this way, it is bad, even though it's a moral rule in your society, it is bad, and if you behave in this way, it is not good. So in other words, is there a universal ethics? Are there universal rules of conduct that we can all abide by? So I'm suggesting to us that what we are reading here is a philosophical argument that invites us to question and interrogate these things. Let me just say that some of us here would say that our leaders are immoral in the sense that they are spokespersons for imperialists, or they are stealing our resources, and so on and so forth, and so on. Yeah, and for us, as progressive Pan-Africanists, we will say, well, that is wrong. How can you be selling the resources of Burkina Faso so cheap to France when you are the president and your people are hungry? And Sister Marlin always reminding us about how these and the people are poor and the leaders don't care. You see, so then we can say, well, that is immoral. So I'm just saying that let us at what we are reading from a point of view. The final thing I want to say is that we all know about the story of Darius. So Darius called two groups of people. He called the Indians. The Indians, as you know, they don't bury their people in the ground. They burn them. Yeah. Then the other group, they bury their people in the ground. And then Darius asked the Indians, what will make you change the way you bury people, from burning people to burying them? And then he asked the other group, what will also make you change from burying your dead in the ground and burning them like the Indians do? And both groups said there's nothing in this world that will make them give up their moral rules. So in other words, let's remember that philosophically, morality in terms of rules are themselves neither good nor bad, but they are only good or bad when they are judged on the basis of, if you like, accepted principles.
Okay.
Then as bad as universal.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Kwame. Or hope you can hear me. I'm not hearing you, but your microphone is on. So I don't know. Okay, thank you. Ambassador, I see your hand is up, but let me go to Sister Myra, who hasn't shared something, and Brother Coco, and then I come back to you to Ambassador. After Ambassador, I'll go to Brother Maxon, who is also here with us. Then Raspar is also here. They haven't shared something. So Sister Myra, and then Brother Coco.
I'll start with the first paragraph, which is short. But to me, it's saying that every society has at least a set of values and principles that they follow, but they may not necessarily be articulated. It could be that people just know them innately and they live these values and principles. And then the second paragraph, I think, expounds on where the morality of a society comes from. So it will come from the ancestors, but also their experiences, and this sets of rules and values that make up the morality will form the basis for decisions and opinions. But the thing that came to my mind was, I believe in our ancient ancestral existence, can I say? We pre-colonial, we didn't need rules or legislation to say that is a human, therefore you have to respect them. We innately knew that was my brother, that was my sister, and they should be honored as such. So I contrast that with the imperialist countries today, where they have legislation that tells them that that entity is a human and shouldn't hate them. It is bad. So imagine if you need laws to tell you do not be racist. So I think that informs us a bit about the underlying moral views of these imperialist societies. And I point to the recent
Samara?
Yes.
Yeah, let me draw your attention to something whilst you're explaining so that you can take that into account.
Yes.
In the imperialist countries, they don't just have statutory laws.
Yeah.
They also have what we call common laws.
Yeah.
And those common laws are similar to what you are referring to when it comes to African society. Those what are called common laws are rooted in the culture. They are guidance rules. They are not written anywhere, and you just know that you have to behave like this. And so the legal term for that is common law. So it's not only Africans that have that. Europeans also do. Every society has that. So take that into account as you explain. Thanks.
I would need to go away and do proper research. But I'm going to make a statement and say that you asked a question, Brother Kwame, is it possible to have universal ethical laws? No, because we're different. Their societies have their own moral principles, and we have our own moral principles. So I would guess, without doing any research at the moment, because I'm here.
So it's a philosophical question.
Their common laws suit them, and our common laws suited us.
No, I mean that the question philosophically is, since we are all human beings, some people are better than others. That we agree that some people are bad, others are worse. But given all that, the philosophical question is there such a thing as universal ethics? In other words, no matter how bad we are or how good you are, we can all agree that doesn't mean that people abide by it. Doesn't mean that because they think it's a good ethics, they do it. You understand? But can we all agree that there are a set of principles or ethical principle that applies to all human beings? And some say that there is, and it is treat others as you like to be treated, for instance. It doesn't mean that everybody abides by it, but is there such a thing? So it's a philosophical question.
Okay. So we're still, as all of us, the global Black family all over the world is still treated not as we want to be treated, and we have shared stories here where the scales are not balanced. So still, I would say that in this context of imperialism and racism, I would say no, still. Then also what I was thinking about how we had news about how on Turtle Island, the DEI laws were rescinded. So then that means that at any one time, imagine if in the UK, imagine if in the UK, these anti-racist laws were also rescinded. So then we go back to our story, the stories that have been shared in the 50s and 60s, where now we can't get jobs, now we don't have rights. So what does that say about the different moral principles of our two societies, the African society and the imperial society? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Myra. And I request, if I'm allowed, at least to have at least 10 minutes be given another 10 minutes, because many members have joined, and I might not wish to leave some outside.
Sorry,
Some have, of course, spoken.
Do you mean we finish at 9:10?
Yeah, I'm requesting, but those who will be ready by 10 can leave, because actually there are people who haven't spoken.
Finish at 9. That is it's always been like that.
Okay, and then I will request that nobody come in if you have spoken before, so that I spend the next 8 minutes to those who haven't spoken. So the rest who have spoken before, please, maybe we'll speak again next time. So let me go straight to Brother Coco. Please, maybe share your thinking in 2 minutes if that's okay. Then Brother Maxon as well.
A lot of people.
Greetings, Brother Coco. I'll do the resetting. I'll only unmute you when you haven't spoken, so all people will not be able to unmute themselves, so that I can cover those who haven't spoken. Go ahead, Brother Coco.
Thank you. A lot has been said and a lot has been covered already. So only two observations that I'm going to make. Dr. Nkrumah is challenging us to not take anything at face value. All right. He's saying, you Africans, you had your own things, and don't just be told what is moral, what is not immoral. You also know that. You know that, and you can abide by what your forefathers, your ancestors left with you. You know what is right and what is not right. Or you can challenge what you are told. So that is the essence of the lesson. And I think maybe let me just stop there.
Thank you, Brother Coco. I'll be unmuting the next speaker, who is Raspala. I'm unmuting you so that you can share your thinking. So Raspala, please unmute yourself and share your thinking.
Yes, my Lord, give thanks, man, blessed. I would say firstly on that first paragraph, where it says in every society there's found a morality. This hardly means there's an explicit set of statements. Yeah, that one is true, because we need also to understand that it takes a lot of time for a society to be established. So having a set of laws takes a lot of years. And once you start understanding the history of Africa, the world history, in fact, as a linear history instead of a fragmented history, you find out that the fall of Egypt predated some of the African societies not having an explicit set of statements defining morality, but all had sets of moralities, one way or another. So yeah, that first statement is true that way. And the second statement, lastly, where I will just skip and go where it says, there are no such reasons. We share within the same society a body of moral principles and rules garnered from our own experience and that of our forebears. Yeah, the ancient black gods who created the pyramids and the river Nile and some of the mountains of earth actually imparted some of those experiences in our DNA, our bloodline. Explains why we are geniuses, scientists, and everything. Some of us are even geniuses without having any formal education. So these experiences and these moral conducts of which some of them we end up conceptualizing them to be part of Ubuntu. These are the part of moral principles that are imparted in us without having an explicit set of statements. I'll end there. Thank you.
Thank you. Elder Sam? Elder Sam, please unmute yourself. You'll be our last speaker.
Thank you, brother Pigeon, and everybody on the platform. And I'm glad that I'm the last person because I don't have any much input. You know, brother Coco came exactly at a point that I was focusing on, because remember the whole story that we are following about Kwame Nkrumah is that we must know exactly what we are pitching for and what we are looking for. And we should not fall in the traps that they fell into. So the two paragraphs to me is there's concrete conditions in every society, and we need to study them to understand them. I still remember it was Kofi Annan who always had something that when he was in the UN, you cannot come into a situation in a country and just automatically feel you have the solution for that society. You first need to study the society there, find exactly what is in there. And other societies, I hear they say those sets of statements are not there. They are there. There are constitutions that are spelled out. There are judicial laws and courts of laws that are spelling out how the country is going to be driven. But the issue is practically, and that is where you marry now theory and practice. Some countries will tell you they are Pan-Africanists, but when you look in the actual practice in that country, Pan-Africanism is not there. Others will tell you they are socialists, but unless you study that society in depthly. Remember, we also learned that there is always a dominant group, a dominant factor that overrides all other ideologies that are there. And those that are in power will always direct the society in their favor. So you need to go concretely study the situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brother Kwame, back to you as we bring this to an end. Brother Kwame?
Yeah, Brother Pidgey, let's hear from yourself. Thank you.
No, I'm afraid time is up. I might not be able to share my thinking as well.
You have 1 minute to share your thinking. A summary.
Thank
you, brother Kwame. Thank you. He must share his.
Thank you. Basically, what I'm getting here is that what is our ideology as a society? As a black society, as Africans, what is our ideology? And the next thing is then what's our morality? Those are key things that I'm getting from this paragraph, and it speaks to us that those two things are very important for our society, to actually define and articulate our ideology as a society and our morality, because then it will give us guidance and conduct, so that whether you are rich, black, or whether you are rich, woman, man, child, you will not actually go against our morality, neither will you walk away from our ideology as a society. And I believe, to my thinking, our society will be like our African society. We need to come up with ideology. So that's basically my thinking. Back to you, Brother Kwame.
So, Brother Pidgey, what is our ideology?
Our ideology is this consciousness.
What quality? Brother P, you need to unmute yourself, and because you are speaking, but you're unmuted.
Hello. Yes, I think I responded to that, Brother Kwame. Did you answer that?
You are muted, so we couldn't hear. What is our morality?
I don't know whether we have a common morality, all of us. There might be my morality, not your morality.
We have a morality. Our morality is that the welfare of the people is the supreme law. That's our morality. The welfare of the people is our supreme law. Thank you. Yeah, Brother Pigeon, that's it. Let's bring the meeting to a close, and let's let's all go and rest.
Yeah,
And
thank you very much, Chris. Permit me to
for ALD. Yeah, go on.
Thank you very much. Permit me to appreciate our sisters more profoundly for their active engagement today and their attendance as well. So thank you very much, sisters, for this. I'm not ignoring our brothers, so thank you for making this conversation possible. And many thanks to all of you. We are having Africa Liberation Day on Saturday. We are focusing on the theme is there's no true liberation without the liberation of women. And we'll have various speakers speaking to this. I'll be able to share the poster as soon as possible. So thank you again, but we're looking forward to that Africa Liberation Day on this coming Saturday on the same time as we have our Africa Unification class. So we'll have the unification talking about Africa Liberation. Thank you very much once again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Thank you.
God bless.
Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are.